Look, nobody wants to make a little bit of money trading. You didn't hop into this video, you didn't hop into any markets because you wanted to make a couple dollars here and there. Chances are you wanted to make life changing money. You wanted to create a new career for yourself, create financial freedom. A lot of people hop into trading thinking that they'll be able to pull it off quickly, easily, with no problem. But that's not the reality. If you've been trading for any period of time, I'm sure you already know that. A lot of people can make a trade or two and make some profits, but everyone wants to be disciplined, consistent, make money time and time again, and continually grow their accounts. So, how in the world do you do that? That's the question that Mark Douglas tried to answer in his award winning book, The Disciplined Trader. And I'm going to be going over three key things that I think are incredibly valuable from this book and give you a reason to add this one to your collection. Let's hop right into it. The first key takeaway is simple. Trading and personal growth are interlocked, they're interlaced with one another. If you want to grow your trading account, you'll have to grow as a person. What do I mean by that? Well, as a trader, Mark Douglas believes that personal transformation is core to performance. Throughout the book, Mark Douglas mentions repeatedly that the more sophisticated you become as a trader, the more you realize that trading is all mental. It's all up in your head. So, how do you become stronger mentally? How do you build discipline? It all begins with focusing on your personal growth. Oftentimes, traders jump into the markets thinking that if they can master a chart, if they can master a strategy, if they can master an indicator, then they'll be able to make profits over and over again. And it's true that if you can master a chart or two, a strategy or two, that you can make money. But in order to do that over the long term, you have to be able to master yourself. Douglas believed inherently that those that were able to take time to journal about their experiences, write down their emotions throughout the trading day, write down how they felt during different periods of their trading sessions, write down reviews about how they felt about all of these items, being able to go back to those ideas and review them and understand them and allow yourself to grow and ask yourself difficult questions and answer them to the best of your ability. He believes all of these components were core to the personal growth and personal transformation necessary in order to be a good trader. Mark Douglas believed that trading was not just meant to help your bank account grow. I know when I first read this takeaway helped me to not just become a better trader, but a better husband, a better brother, a better dog dad. All of these things are interconnected. As I've grown as a person, as I've been able to become more understanding of who I am as a person, I've been able to implement those learnings into my trading. Now, I know what you must be thinking.
All this stuff sounds great. All this foo-foo and all this beautiful words that Mark Douglas writes on the page. But Aaron, how do you actually do that?
That's a great question. And that's our second key point here, perfecting your pattern perception. Perception is the ability to become aware of something through our senses. Why is perception important? Well, the way that we perceive things oftentimes is the way things are in our minds. When we're trading, we take in an insane amount of data in order to make our decisions. Let's say you're trying to buy a pullback in an uptrend. You'll be looking at things like volume. You'll be looking at things like price action. You'll be looking at the news. You'll be looking at areas of support, resistance, EMAs, SMAs, stochastics. The list can go on and on depending upon your strategy. You're taking in all of this data. It's difficult sometimes and you get overloaded. In fact, our minds aren't designed to take in that much data. Mark Douglas talks about it throughout his book, where he says that our perception is limited. We can only focus on so many things at one time. Mark believed that as our perception grows, so would our ability to be able to make good decisions in trading. And that doesn't just apply to the charts. Again, so much of this is a mental game. So when you're thinking about your perception on the charts, that same idea can apply to your emotions. Douglas repeatedly advocates throughout this book that the way that we perceive our outside affects our interior perception. What does that look like in a natural trade? What's the reality of that? Well, think about it like driving. Starting off as a driver, I'm sure that you were incredibly afraid of many things. I know I was. Things like oncoming traffic, things like keeping the car within the lanes. You're hyper focused. You're holding the wheel with all of your strength, trying to make sure it doesn't veer out of your control. And then all of a sudden, you're focused on all of these key components. You see a car coming down the road. You lose your focus for just a minute looking at that car coming towards you in the other lane. And then you run a stop sign. Boom. Yeah, you can end up hitting a curb, end up hitting a tree, or you could end up in a car accident. And the very thing that you feared, that collision, could potentially happen because of your intense focus on things that were important but weren't the entire picture. That same thing happens in trading, doesn't it? When you're looking at a trade, and you have something else affecting your mind. Maybe you're anxious about what you're going to do at work that day. Maybe the kids were yelling at you. Maybe the dog is chewing on your foot as you're trading. Maybe the wife said something frustrating last night. Maybe the husband forgot to do his job. Little bits and pieces of this of life that can make us frustrated, sad, angry, nervous, anxious. All of these emotions play a role. So, applying that same example of the car to trading, what if you're afraid to lose money? You're afraid because you have to pay for all of these things in your life. So, you're looking at a scalping trade, you're trying to get in and get out really quick. Steal a couple of points, a couple of ticks, a couple of pips, whatever you're trading, a couple of dollars, whatever it might be, and you're entering a trade at 9:58. The setup looks great. Everything is where it needs to be. You're heading into an area you've been stalking for a while, but you miss some important details. It's 9:58 when you put on this trade, and at 10 a.m., some important news is coming out that will affect the asset that you're trading. What happens? You hop in that trade, it can go in your direction, it can go against you, but either way, 10 o'clock hits and things go haywire, and all of a sudden you're kicked out of a trade. The very thing you feared became a reality. Mark Douglas believed that as you can grow your perception of the exterior, maybe the markets, the charts, news, and the perception of the interior, your emotions, your physical state, your mental state, these components put together can grow your perception and grow your experience and your ability to be successful as a trader. Douglas believed that skillful perception informs skillful execution, which builds an accumulation of experiences that allows us to continually be better over time. The last key of the puzzle, my last key takeaway for this incredible book, is centered around the work. Mark Douglas does a great job of explaining all these components to us, but he also encourages us to do the work. What does the work look like, Aaron? What does that mean? Well, I mentioned it a little bit earlier. I'll mention it again. Mark Douglas is a really huge advocate, was an incredibly huge advocate, at least, of the journal. The trading journal isn't just something where you write down your entries, your exits, your strategies, but you write down everything that goes through the head, everything that goes through the heart, your mental state, your emotions, and you apply these things over time and you create a body of research on you. Mark Douglas is one of the only authors I've ever read that has encouraged his readers to also become authors themselves. He believed that those that do the work of journaling, writing down, recording their experiences, accumulating their experiences, accumulating data about themselves, their trading, the markets. He believed all of these things led to a more skillful career. And you don't have to take his word for it. If you've seen any of our content here at Trade Delicious, you would have seen people like myself, people like Jordan, and many others talk about their success in trading or interview others about their success in trading. And almost always, one of the key components that has led them to success and a degree of wealth is the journal. Regardless of where they're from, Jordan's from Australia, I'm from the States, Saul is from Mexico. There's so many pieces of the puzzle, so many people that we have the pleasure of speaking to and working with from all kinds of backgrounds, all kinds of levels of education, et cetera, that have been able to create success for themselves, starting off with step one, that being the journal. Mark Douglas wants us to commit to this work, commit to things like journaling, commit to things like learning about ourselves, commit to things like figuring out what works well for you and trapping your ideas on paper. As someone that has fought hard to be a part of the markets for years now, I recognize that this work is not easy. Mark Douglas is very, very clear, and he writes repeatedly throughout the book that in order for there to be change, there is often struggle. But I promise you that this struggle is a worthwhile one. We at TradeDelicious believe anyone can be a trader, and that anyone includes you. If you want to improve on your trading or become a better trader, please consider buying this incredible book by this incredible author. It's definitely worthwhile. And if you like this video, if you enjoyed this type of content, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you know when we're making more videos like this and when we're going live, because we're going live quite often now. As always, it has been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. I hope you have an excellent rest of your day. As always, please trade well and trade delicious. I'll see you.